Welcome to Defying Conventionalism with Teddy B. Cosplay and Mara Rose.
Hey everybody, welcome to our first episode. This is Defying Conventionalism, and up first, our Crossroads of Cosplay series. Today we're featuring Alter Egos. This amazing documentary featured Artemistyck and of course Downen Creative Studios. So we're going to check in with them today, but first up, Cosplay Update.
Good evening, cosmic travelers, and welcome to Cosplay Update, the only show where we transform your favorite fandoms into universe-shattering puns. I'm Teddy B, your friendly time-traveling Sailor Pluto, guarding time and space and still trying to figure out why Sailor Moon never calls.
And I'm Mara Rose, your favorite green queen, Elphaba, defying gravity one cosplay at a time. Or, in my case, defying the law of texture by rocking this cape. I mean, who knew Elphaba was so into dramatic fashion?
Honestly, if anyone could pull off a dramatic entrance, it's you, Mara Rose. And let's be real, if Sailor Pluto and Elphaba teamed up, we'd definitely be the most powerful and fashionable duo at any convention. Time travel, green fire, and a whole lot of sass.
I think we'd be unstoppable. And that's exactly what we're seeing this year in the cosplay community. A lot of unstoppable talent. Conventions are back in full force, and let me tell you, they're giving us some of the most mind-blowing costumes we've ever seen. And this year's cosplay contests, truly out of this world. Just like my Elphaba makeup. It took longer than expected, but it's totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Just like every Death Note cosplay I saw at Comic-Con. Seriously, there were so many elves running around, I thought we were in a tournament of wits, not a costume contest. And of course, the Kira cosplayers were walking around like they just got their hands on the Death Note. Some even had mini notebooks to write down their con opinions.
Yikes. Yeah, I'm sure Kira would have had a lot to say about those costumes, but really, was Soul Eater there this year? I'm just saying, the weapon cosplayers were really giving Death the Kid a run for his symmetry. Every pair of scythes was perfectly aligned. It was like a cosmic art exhibit, with a touch of spooky, obviously.
Of course, there's always someone who takes the theme a little too seriously, like that Deadpool cosplayer who showed up at DragonCon, the one with 12 chimichangas strapped to their waist. Who knew that Deadpool was also a street food enthusiast? And honestly, at this point, I'm starting to think Deadpool cosplayers are the official convention food critics.
Oh, sure. The chimichangas were just a side project, I'm sure. But let's talk about a real comic book hero, Wolverine, who showed up at Fan Expo this year. Now, I'm all for clawed-up cosplays and distressing, but when Wolverine decided to scratch up the tournament-style cardboard box for his costume display, I guess the bub just got a little too real. Note to future Wolverine cosplayers, maybe leave the actual live steel claws at home for the costume contest.
Definitely. No clawing through costume etiquette, people. But seriously, Wolverine was still on point. And we can't forget the Star Wars cosplayers. The Force was strong at Comic-Con this year. I'm talking about that Darth Vader cosplayer who had a lightsaber with a built-in speaker. Every time they raised the blade, it played the Imperial March, as if we needed any more intimidation while we were just trying to get our Starbucks.
Yeah. You know, Darth Vader really does know how to make an entrance. But what about the Firefly cosplayers? I have to admit, I lost my mind when I saw a Serenity prop that actually flew. Okay, I mean, it was a remote-controlled hovercraft, but still, talk about craftsmanship and innovation. That's a true space cowboy move, Captain Mal.
That's right. Firefly cosplayers know how to keep it flying, even if the show didn't.
Oh, too soon, bruv. Too soon.
Still too soon?
Always.
Speaking of the fandom that shall not be named, that snake-faced guy made a comeback at New York Comic Con this year. Still not sure how he managed to make that snake tongue stay on through his time on stage, but it was impressive.
Gotta wonder how he was able to get through the food court. The dedication to accuracy in prosthetics was very impressive. Accuracy is really becoming a central focus of many in the community now.
Speaking of, let's talk about the Lord of the Rings cosplayers who take cosplay accuracy to a whole new level. I saw an Aragorn who literally had heirlooms from Middle Earth. This guy looked like he had just stepped off the set of Return of the King. I mean, do you think Sauron's costume team could have made his eye look that good? Probably not. Poor Sauron never gets the accessorizing love he deserves.
Honestly, Sauron could have used a great makeup artist, but let's be real. He was just too busy planning his evil empire to actually show up in a costume and get made up. And while we're on the topic of evil empires, I have to say, the cosplay community is really stepping up its villain game. I saw a Wicked Witch cosplay last week that outspelled me with its wickedness. I'm not just talking broomsticks. This cosplay had lightning, green smoke, and a flying monkey that was terrifyingly cute. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed.
I'd be scared and impressed too, Mirror Rose. Honestly, though, I love how cosplay lets us reimagine our favorite characters in ways that are just as crazy as they are creative. But let's get back to the main event, the costume contest. At WonderCon, a cosplayer dressed as Sailor Moon literally stopped traffic. Not just from how amazing the costume was, but because it had glowing crystals that somehow attracted every photographer in the room. At this point, Sailor Moon's moonstick is officially a lifestyle accessory.
I have never seen a Sailor Moon cosplay that bright in my life. But that's what I love about the cosplay community. It's all about creativity, inclusivity, and really owning your fandom. Whether you're dressing up as a Wolverine or a Wicked Witch, there's a place for everyone here. And trust me, it's unbeatable when you can look that fabulous while fighting the forces of darkness.
And let's face it, if you're fighting darkness, you might as well do it with style, right? Because the real power of cosplay isn't the costume. It's in the community.
Exactly. So whether you're flying in from Serenity or defying gravity like a pro, keep rocking those costumes. And remember, the Force will always be with you, as long as you've got a killer wig and confidence.
Until next time, stay fabulous, keep cosplaying, and remember, even when you're fighting monsters, don't forget to look $1,000,000 while doing it.
And remember, whether you're wielding a lightsaber, a broomstick, or just a wand of puns, cosplay is all about having fun and embracing your favorite fandoms. This is Cosplay Update. Stay tuned. Up next, we've got the legendary Artemistyck and Downen Creative Studios to talk about their involvement in the Alter Egos documentary series and their most recent projects. And I'm Mara Rose from Shimmer and Shade Family Cosplay, and with me is
Teddy B Cosplay.
and of course, Teddy B. We got a couple of really amazing guests with us for our first show, and I'm actually exceptionally excited about this. We have Beverly Downen of Downen Creative Studios, and we have Joshua Duarte, Artemistyck Cosplay. So thanks for joining us. This is our first show. So, thanks for wading through the technical difficulties with us.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not a problem. It feels like pandemic times. We're all on Zoom again.
I know.
The best of times.
It was the
Maybe.
best of times. I don't know, but it definitely is the best of times right now. Because you guys have got this amazing documentary that you just put out, Alter Egos. 6 episodes. How long did this take you guys to put together?
Well, I should say that Joshua and I were featured cosplayers in it. So there's a whole team of camera people, editors, producers, and they approached us to be included in this documentary about cosplay. And that happened, it was last year, the beginning of the year.
It was last year.
Maybe about a year ago, yeah. I got an email just saying, hey, would you be interested in this? Let me know. And 2 seconds later, I was emailing like, yes, I would love to know more about what you're doing. And yeah, it's just been a really crazy, wild process to be a part of, and to help a team of filmmakers who don't know anything about cosplay, kind of walk them, like take their hands and guide them through all different parts of cosplay through different lenses. So yeah, it's been really fun. Definitely did not have that on my my bingo card for the last, after the pandemic had no
Basically 2
um,
years.
yeah, it's been been about 2
Yeah,
years.
because
Yeah.
they followed you to conventions. Josh, I saw that they came to you at Dragon Con, so I'm gonna guess that was 2023.
Yes, that was 2023. And I want to amend Beverly's statement because she was approached and then she asked me to join.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. She did. It was lovely because, Beverly and I would consider Beverly a dear friend, and I think she feels the same. And so it was really nice to hear from her, and for her to extend that invitation and to be a part of this project with her and the other people that I have subsequently gotten to know while doing it. And yeah, they came to Dragon Con, and I had met with the team, virtually before the whole thing happened, and Ash, who is the producer of the project, she was like, well, I think it'd be really neat if we came to Dragon Con and captured footage of you there, because I heard that was kind of where you really like go all the time, and you know a lot of people, and it's kind of your thing. And I said, yeah, that's very true. I live in Atlanta now. One of the reasons, not particularly, but truthfully, one of the reasons I moved to Atlanta was kind of because of Dragon Con. I love that convention, and now Beverly also goes, and she also loves it. So, they got footage of both of us while we were there. So that was really awesome that they were able to get, and other people as well. They got,
and you get to strut your stuff.
Yeah, Dragon Con's where you bring out the big guns for a lot of costumers. So it was us. It was Yaya Han. It was a bunch of other people that are in the documentary. I'm terrible with names, so I'm so sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I saw they caught Night Mage also, and it looked like
Yes.
Night Mage. They caught it San Diego Comic-Con. They caught a couple up at, I think, New York City Comic-Con, and then we saw some Gen Con slide-ins too. It was actually pretty neat to see them go to all of the various conventions, and it was kind of cool to see not just the big names of cosplay, because you guys are pretty well known. It was neat that in their kind of B-roll throughout the scenes, you're seeing the whole community. And in fact, actually, I think we got a shot. I'm gonna pop it up here. Hey, Teddy, did you know you were in it?
I didn't. Am I?
Really?
Yeah.
How did I miss that? How did I miss that?
It's awesome. So, but yeah, there's so many cosplayers in this. So, what was the motivation behind doing it? I mean, I know you said, Beverly, you saw it and you were like, yeah, I want to do this. But what did you think this was going to bring to the community?
Well, when Ash approached me, actually, Kamui, Svetlana, and Benny, they were approached initially by the first producer that was involved with the project, and then they gave Ash my name to connect with, and then from there, kind of branched out to others. And when I talked to Ash about this project, I realized that because they didn't know anything about cosplay and they didn't know anything about it, it was a great opportunity to tell stories that were from other points of view that have not really been told yet in other documentaries, and to really highlight some of the folks like Joshua, who is just over the top amazing. Like Joshua, your voice, I thought, was really important to the entire story. Your journey is important for others to hear about and to know about, which is one of the reasons why I said, please, you must talk to Joshua, and after you talk to Joshua, you will understand why he needs to be part of the project. But I did give him a long list of people that were potentials, people that I knew personally, that I could trust to keep things positive and in the positive light, because that's something I really wanted to highlight as well, that this cosplay scene can be and is a loving and supportive community, even though some of us go into this hobby coming from spaces that aren't that supportive. But through that very common story and that very common like origin story, we find each other in cosplay spaces and to kind of tell that story. Although I was not involved with the editing, I just kept throwing names at Ash and places and locations and suggestions as we kind of rolled through a year of them taking footage and kind of layering, like just adding more and more layers on top of the story that they were trying to tell. And they really wanted to focus on the beauty of it, to not make it a drama, to make it lighthearted but meaningful and beautiful. I think that they did a good job with that.
I think they really succeeded. It was very muchly so. What I have seen of it, I have not watched all 6 episodes yet. I've only watched the first 2. You've
got some homework to do.
I know.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed the first 2 so much, though. And one of them, you mentioned Josh's story. I actually, I love Josh's story. I don't know that Josh remembers how we met, though.
Oh God, don't put me on the spot. This is terrible.
Here you go.
That's all right. You used to
Spotlight,
have
activate.
a different cosplay name related to a elven character that
that feels like ages ago, to be honest with you. I can't even, that feels like forever ago.
It's actually really funny because when you were talking about everything in that first episode about why you got into cosplay and we're watching you get all dressed up and everything, I'm just sitting there, I'm looking at my husband, and I don't know that you remember us, and you might not, because we were backstage at the masquerade. We were competing the same year that you were competing as the elf, and you were back there and you were kind of like, and we were like, no, it's okay. You're going to be all right. And we're sitting here watching you. And now I'm watching you on the screen and I'm like, I told him he was going to be all right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember the masquerade. That was my first Dragon Con. That was my first convention ever. Ever. I had never been to a convention.
Your first one was Dragon Con? Holy heck.
Oh, he knocked it out of the park. He came up in the most amazing Thranduil, and Lady Gaga.
I'm a huge fan.
Y'all stop. It was so surreal. The whole weekend was so surreal. True story, and I think I told this story in the documentary. I can't remember if I did or didn't, because I don't remember what I said. I actually legitimately told Beverly and Ash this, that watching it has been a surprise for me, because I remember nothing about what I said in those interviews. But my friend Elizabeth, who I went to college with, she had moved to Atlanta way before me, and she had gone to Dragon Con a few times, very casually, just worn a few costumes. So when she invited me to go with her the first year, I said, people wear costumes to these things, so I guess I'll make one. And so I'd seen the promotional images for Thranduil. The movie hadn't even come out yet. And so I basically made this whole costume on 2 or 3 images at the time. No, I think I was the first person to ever actually make a full Thranduil cosplay.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was. And so I showed up, and I was not prepared for the reactions. That I was genuinely shocked. I was like, what is happening? And I did the evening at Brie costume contest, and then I did the masquerade where I met y'all in backstage, and it was just such a whirlwind, and I was 100% hooked, and I was like, I got to keep doing this. This is.
I remember the glasses that had the 1980s blinds, and you got out on stage. You were this majestic thing, and all of a sudden those are out and Gaga's on, and I'm like, oh yes, no, he belongs here.
People talk about that performance for years. I actually made a few of my really good friends because of that performance. People found me afterwards and connected with me after that show, and a very specific core group of friends I'm thinking of right now that watch the masquerade every year, and now that I'm really good friends with, that I spend time with outside of conventions and see at a pretty regularly. I made friends with them because of that performance. So, cosplay brings people together.
It does. Cosplay brings everybody together, and actually that takes me to something that you also do, Beverly, that I really want more people to hear about. Can you tell us about Sheeprop?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about it, lady.
I love Sheeprop. So Sheeprop is a community that is mostly online and in person at conventions, but it's a welcoming, supportive group for anyone that has a underrepresented gender. So it is open to anyone that identifies as female, non-binary, transgender, two-spirit, and it's just a safe space where you can be yourself. Where you can get help without any judgment or fear of being mansplained. And yeah, it started in 2018. We have just under 6,000 members on the Facebook group. We have a Discord group, but we go to conventions. We'll do panels, all sorts of different kinds of panels. We have also done a lot of booths at conventions so that we can further meet people in person and kind of spread the word about this supportive community. But that is something that I created because I needed that space. It wasn't available back in 2018. And was born out of an evening of a lot of frustration. Actually, that had been accumulating over a period of time. And after one little moment, I was like, oh, I need to do, why can't I have the thing that I need? And I was like, oh, well, why don't you just create the thing that you need? Oh, okay. All right. So Sheeprop was born.
Yeah, I know
So
that's
that.
I knew when I was competing for the stage a while ago in DragonCon, Mira actually got me into, told me about the Sheeprop group. And I love being in that group myself because I love sharing my stuff, always, and giving, just being a source for other people. If you don't know it, somebody in that group does. So it's a great community. I love being a part of it. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely a phenomenal resource, especially when you've got an idea, but you're not exactly sure what you're going to do with it, or you don't have an idea and you need an idea. There's so much inspiration there. It's a really amazing group.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I think that it's helped a lot of people find not just a safe space, but a way to build confidence in themselves. Because when you're out in the internet and you're posting your stuff, anyone can comment whatever they want. People are so mean, or they're not helpful, or they will give you suggestions that are unsolicited. And those things are so hurtful, and they can actually turn people off entirely from following something that they would like to do, that they find joy out of. That sucks the joy right out of that. So my
100%.
hope with the community is just that we use this space to not only empower each other, but to help ourselves become better people and better people within those spaces, and also to hold each other accountable in while the fabric of our communities change. So we do ask everyone make space for each other there, and that we have polite discourse. So it really is, it takes a lot of work. And it's not just me, it's my admins and moderators. We do a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that that the garden stays weeded, so to speak, to keep everyone in a safe space.
Yeah, you guys are definitely the backbone of what I keep calling the cause positivity movement. Let's keep the community happy and positive and supportive to each other. Yeah, you guys do an amazing job.
I'm so glad.
I mean, everybody's got a little witch in them, though. So, Josh, what did you do with witches?
I don't know what you're talking about. I get all along.
What?
So, actually, just about a month ago now, maybe less than that. I can't even. It's wild how it kind of transformed. So, I was actually approached by my friend Kat, and she is a regular DragonCon person, and we've known each other for a few years now. And she was like, "What if we did a witch meetup at DragonCon?" And I was like, "Tell me more." And she said, "Well, what if we created a photo group and an event where you could celebrate the witchy part of fandom, and everybody and anybody from any fandom that had a witch character or a witch adjacent character, we could all get together and just celebrate that energy and create a safe space, an inclusive space that we we talk about, the feminine and the mystical, and we celebrate each other and the magic that we get out of books and movies and comics. And because witches have been a source of joy in fantasy and literature and sci-fi for hundreds of years now, and a lot of us who cosplay, I think, identify with that energy, and we love that, and we're drawn to it. And a lot of people cosplay as witches and witchy characters. And so I was like, heck, yeah, I'm so into this. And with Agatha all along really becoming a huge thing this year, it felt like the right time. And I'm really surprised it hasn't become a bigger thing up until now. And I'm happy that it is now, because we created the group and it like exploded. It grew so far so fast, and I think it's still going to continue to grow. We're just under 600 members now, all in less than a month, which is amazing.
Oh, no, he's totally reached cult status at this point. This is the witch cult.
Yep, this is the witch cult. Yes.
Love it.
And I'm so excited about it. And, people are already throwing ideas about how they want to do like a dance. They all want to sing the Witch's Road song together.
Yes.
Yeah, they want to do the parade now. And I'm like, it's growing so quickly, and so I'm very lucky that a couple of people have already come forward to offer to help admin and moderate the group, and so that has been, I think, kind of echoing what Beverly said. It's a genuine, helpful, and positive space already, and it was born out of an idea of fandom and of celebrating commonality that we all share, and it's already turned into such a wonderful thing that people are approaching me and saying, hey, do you need help with this? I'll be an admin for you and help you moderate the group. And I was like, how lucky to be able to experience that kind of beautiful, positive, energy from someone that, in just creating something like this. And so it's very similar in that sense to what I think Beverly has created with She Prop on a much, much smaller scale, obviously, but it's nice to see that that's happening already.
Well, I think one of the nice things about this community is we have so many different opportunities to kind of connect through our love of these characters and these fandoms. And so, I think there's always a space even within spaces, right? So like witches, Star Trek, Star Wars. I mean, there's all the different, for lack of a better term, using a Dragon Con term here, tracks, that, they all seem to blend together well. It's really awesome, especially when these fandoms start to really evolve, like the Agatha fandom. And, this is just the latest in some really stellar witchy characters, right? Because you've got Hocus Pocus, you've got Agatha, you've got Scarlet Witch, you've got, all
Wicked.
Wicked.
Right?
Wicked.
Exactly. You have the Wicked. So it just, and it was wonderful to see the genuine excitement. People were posting and being like, where has this group been all my life? And I was like, well, it's here now, so let's go.
I know when he first posted about it, when I first saw the post about it, I was like, I'm in right now. It was,
see, that's what I mean,
needed.
Right?
It's needed. Also, if you need another admin, hi.
Yeah, I'll volunteer too. I mean, but the reason why when I say, I wanted to make sure we talked about your witches, there's a reason. Because you were talking about, actually, it's one of the things in the documentary that really made me go, you know what? I really want to do an episode on this. You talked a little bit about being bullied and, where your history was, and, the cosplay kind of gave you an outlet. And there's a lot in that first episode of people talking about how they found themselves through cosplay. And, I was one of those kids. I think everybody in this community has those stories, right?
Same here.
Yeah. But I was actually one of those kids that was bullied because I grew up a pagan. I was a proud pagan in a very, very conservative community that was 45 minutes from Jerry Falwell. Ooh. So when you came out with the witch community, I went, I might actually have a place there. Yeah. And so that's what made me say, you know what? I think it's an important thing for people to see, because when you've got we've got a lot of problems in this world, right? Where people just are kind of hateful to each other, and cosplay I think has become more than just an escape. I think it's become a lifeline. Have you found that the community and even outside of actually cosplaying, have you found, things that help you have that kind of strength through all of these wonderfully trying times?
I mean, yeah, I think I'm going to use the person on the call as an example. I'm going to say that, friendship has been something that has really sustained me, and Beverly is one of those people. I met Beverly through cosplay. That's how we connected. And coming, like you mentioned, like my story was very difficult when I was younger, being queer and ultimately discovering that I'm, non-binary and figuring myself out happened through cosplay, but also true and lasting friendships where you connect with someone of course it starts out very much like, oh my gosh, I love your costume, oh my gosh, let's talk about our fandoms. But then if you let it and it makes sense, which I think in Beverly and I's case it has, you get to know someone on a much deeper level, and you get to experience what true friendship means. And I really feel like I've done that with her. And having someone like that, and she is one of many people that I feel like I've connected with in this community, that I have those friendships with. I mentioned that, people that watch me the Masquerade, I'm friends with now as well. It's those relationships that sustain me, because people give me the recharge of my battery. I'm an extrovert, and I get energy from people, and it helps me sustain when I'm feeling low, or I can reach out to someone and say, hey, I need a hug, or a kind word, or a phone call. And it's been wonderful. I like to focus on the people aspect of it, because that's what this is all about. We're just humans trying to have a good time, and at the end of the day, beautiful things come of it. So I'm putting you on the spot, Beverly, because I love you.
Oh, well, I'm going to mention really briefly that, Mira, your first interaction with Joshua was very similar to my first interaction with Joshua, even though we had been talking online. It was before Emerald City Comic Con. Real quick story. And I was very, very nervous. And Joshua came, he left, he had an epiphany. It was a moment of an epiphany. Beverly needs me. Left his, getting makeup on, and went down the hallway in the hotel, knocked on my door, and gave me the best pep talk that I've ever had. And it really, like, that moment, you have those moments in your lives where people enter and they change the core fabric of who you are. And he made me believe in myself. And more than that, it was just so wonderful to have someone that believed in me, that wasn't a relative I wasn't married to, that I honestly, at that point, I barely knew, but I needed to hear that. And somehow he knew and was able to offer that to me. And that's the kind of friendship. That's the kind of friendship that I think a lot of us experience in the cosplay world, because there's so many. It's not just a hobby. It's learning new skills and finding connections with each other. And there's a lot of struggle with a lot of the things that we do, and we help each other through those times. And it's just such a multifaceted hobby. It can't really be defined very easily, because it's so complex. It's definitely a very important part of my life for so many different reasons. My reasons are basically the same as everyone else's. I just want to have a good time, but these friendships that I have made, they are just so wonderful, and they're true, and I want to protect them. Like I go all mama bear now on my friend, like, just to make sure my friends are okay. And yeah, I think that's why I like to include people that I believe in things fun things that I like to do as well, like with the documentary and getting people involved that I think are amazing.
You guys have definitely come up with some very unique things in the cosplay community, which is awesome. You both also compete, and your competition costumes are kind of amazing and epic. I think we would be missing a huge section of this if we didn't say, okay, what on earth inspired that? Because some of your builds have just been amazing. So Beverly, what was your favorite, cosplay that you've competed with, and what inspired you to create it?
So I have to be honest, I haven't competed in a while because it's so dang stressful and it's so tough for me to like I just get so much anxiety of like I'm feeling it right now just thinking about it. So it's been a
I'm
while.
sorry, I wasn't
It's been a
trying to
while.
do that.
Oh no, no,
Me
no,
too.
no, no.
Me
It's
too.
fine. I think I do a lot of what I do a lot of now is on the other side of the table. I do an awful lot of judging and I love being in that space and that's what I prefer. Although I have to be honest, and I'm saying this here first, I have been considering competing again.
Dun, dun, dun.
Only because I there's just so like the personal challenge of competing with yourself and having a deadline. I don't know. I mean, I always compete with myself, so I don't know that I would want the added stress, but it might be fun. I don't know. We'll
It's one of
see.
my
Stay
favorite
tuned.
things too.
Stay
Like
tuned. Stay
doing
tuned.
the whole like the competing against yourself. It really hits home for me too because I'm always trying to make sure I do everything as perfectly as I can, and so every now and then it's like I don't want to have to restart something. So it's it's the competition. Still love it.
Yeah, I actually can commiserate with that because as much as I love judging and running contests and everything else, it's been a hot minute since I actually competed seriously. I mean, Josh, you've seen the stuff I put on stage at the masquerade. I just play around. I have fun with weird. But I've been considering doing it lately again too. So I get that. There's that sense of kind of it's exciting, but there's the anxiety that goes along with it, and then the kind of I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to be a little obsessive compulsive over details when I'm making something.
Oh, the
So,
compulsiveness. Oh,
Yeah.
do you guys find yourselves getting into those like nitty gritty details of characters, or do you look at the larger picture of what the presentation's going to be on stage? How do you do it, Josh?
I feel seen. Well, so something that my journey with costuming has been a peaks and valleys kind of journey, and I've really lately had to. I'm having to relearn the conversation that I'm having with cosplay these last few basically the last couple years. I haven't made any large builds in a while. I have the last couple of years I've been making costumes that have been more for fun to do with groups of people that have I requested me to join them, or something that I really wanted to do, but I would either modify something or buy part of it and then modify it or add to it. I haven't sat down and made anything from scratch in a minute. I'm trying to think if my last from scratch build was probably I want to say it was Agatha.
Glenn? Oh, Agatha. Okay. I was going to
Agatha
say,
was
yeah.
I know Glenda was from scratch. And
Yeah,
she
Glenda was from
phenomenal.
scratch, but Agatha, I think, was the very last one that I made completely from scratch. Everything else I've made since then, or I've worn since then, has been made from or
Is-
like modified.
Was that the gray tone, Agatha?
Yeah, the black and white. Yeah,
That was so beautiful.
It really
So
was.
beautiful.
but kind of going back to like the details, I think that's kind of what's kept me away from building something new in the meantime. I've had a lot of life change in the last couple of years. I got divorced and I'm living a new chapter of my life. So that's been a lot of change and figuring out like what my life looks like now. And so that's also part of the conversation with myself is I spend my time differently, very differently now as a single person. And so to sit down and know that I will obsess over details of a costume doesn't feel quite as on brand for me as it used to. And I'm getting a little like deep on this, but this is how I am as a person. I discovered that a lot of the reasons why I was so intensely focused on those things at the time was because I was trying to get away from perhaps an unhappy relationship that I was in. So now that I'm in a space where I'm able to live my life authentically and be very happy with my life, and I am very happy with my life, I feel less inclined to want to sit in my costume room and obsess over those details because that is the person that I am. If I make something, I want it to be, especially for competition, I want it to be as good as it possibly can be in the confines and the scope of my abilities and what I know about the costume. So long story short, yes, I do obsess about the details, and I'm working through that right now.
I've been waiting this entire time for you to say that one word. authentically. You said something in the documentary that really hit home for me, because in a way I kind of feel like we're almost the same person sometimes, because like we do like the drag and all the other types of cosplays and stuff. But the thing that really hit me in the documentary is when you said that being a different character is when you start to find your own self. Paraphrasing, but it was like, you're right. Like, I'm a shapeshifter, and I find myself in those characters when I'm making them. So I was just like, that was put so perfectly when you said it in the documentary. I was like, wow, it makes sense.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, the funny thing is that, people who don't know cosplay at all, like sometimes my family, sometimes a stranger, sometimes a friend who maybe not involved in this community whatsoever, they oftentimes will ask me after they've seen my Instagram or whatever I show them, and, because it might come up in conversation, they're like, well, do you act like the person that you're dressed up as? And I always say no, because I for pictures, of course, I'll pose, I'll do a little thing, or like a video,
right.
mannerism, but this is, if I was wearing a costume right now, this would be how I'd be acting. And Beverly knows, she's experienced it, right? Like, and I never feel compelled to necessarily modify my behavior, but it is, you do feel a difference. You do feel a difference in the way that you interact with people in your costume, and I'm sure Beverly shares that sentiment as well.
Oh yeah, I think that putting your costume on is almost like putting armor on and it allows you to step beyond who you are on the daily, to maybe try out something else that you do identify with, but you might not feel like you can in your daily life. And for me, and I know that I'm a strong woman, but I love armor. I love wearing armor. I love like the strong female characters that are mostly in movies. I love feeling like a badass, and I definitely, like, especially when I put Hella on, I'm a very sweet person, but I do love dipping my toe into something else and trying that and just having fun with it. Yeah, and I think that it's important to try. Yeah.
It's always a delight, because I see it in your face when your husband takes pictures of you, because he's a photographer and he should be mentioned. Brett is fantastic.
Yes, he's amazing.
He takes a photo of you and he posts it to the gram, and I'm always like, look at that face. She is feeling her family.
that takes a lot of practice.
What it's about.
Yeah.
It's what it's about. So.
Yeah. I encourage everyone to cosplay. Everyone at work, when I get outed at work at like a new, somebody was like, oh, I saw your Instagram. Your Halloween must be amazing. Like, actually, it's the opposite. My Halloween is always, but I love taking that moment to talk to them if I feel like they want to have a conversation about it. And if I want to have a conversation about it, just to sort of explain, like, this is why I choose these characters. It's because I like to feel this way when I'm wearing it. Also, I like a challenge, and I like armor, so I do what I want.
I love it with like being able to like quote unquote come out at work as a cosplayer, because like I accidentally outed myself as a cosplayer and a drag queen at the same time at work. When I teach nurses at a hospital, one of our hospitals, and I opened up my Teams meeting, and oops, there's my PowerPoint from the Comic-Con I just had, because I couldn't figure out the share button correctly, and there's me in full drag as Wicked Lady from Sailor Moon, and I'm like, scrambling, and they're all like, no, we were hoping this would be a class about cosplay, and I'm like, well, we can't do that. and so now my coworkers are always like, oh, what are you doing now? What's the next big cosplay? We want to see it every time. And I'm like, here you go.
I think it's a lot of fun, especially, on Facebook and on social media. You get a lot of people that maybe aren't into cosplay, but they love to watch cosplay. So, cosplay adjacent, but they know you from other realms, and always fun. You're talking about them at work. Josh, you actually used to work for a fabric company.
Yeah, I used to work for
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and you had a ton of people that used to comment on your posts all the time who were not even remotely a part of cosplay that looked like they were all coming from the fabric world but had never made costumes. How many of them did you end up inspiring to come into cosplay?
I have no idea. I think a lot of that too is like I'm also part of a few patterning groups on Facebook that are primarily usually people that don't make costumes. They're usually doing home sewing, like quilts and things like that, or actual making garments for themselves to wear on a daily basis. And so I would post in there as well because I found them through my job at Fabric, and that inspired some folks to be like, wow, okay, we didn't know this was a thing. And to Beverly's point, like it happened today. Actually, this is really ironic that this comes up. I went to the dentist this morning, and I had a new dental hygienist who I'd never had before. I usually have someone that I have on the regular, and we were getting along so famously. And she was saying how her and her daughter were going to see Wicked on Saturday, and she's dressing up as Glinda. And I was like, hold on, let me get my phone.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a second.
Show you something, and we hadn't talked about it at all. Like we hadn't brought it up at all. I'm like, I want to show you something because you're not ready. And she's like, what are you doing? Wait a second. And so I pull up my Glinda, and I'm like, here you go. She's like, get out. She like flipped out, and then of course the entire office knew. All the receptionist ladies were running into the room. I was like, "Wait, I'm like,
It's
so
like the funnest thing to see is when with that reaction. Actually, I had something similar just the other day at a friend's birthday party. I was talking to a fashion designer, and I was like, "Oh, I make costumes too." So I pull up Rococo Pluto, and he's like, "Get out! No, that is not you." I'm like, "Yeah, that's me."
I met you
So
actually, I think for the first time in that costume at Drag.
that's exactly what we bet. Yeah.
It's a beautiful costume too. I mean, I have to laugh because my own mother thought that this was like completely a waste of my time because I started putting costumes and stuff together when I was in high school. Because I was basically I am not an extrovert. I am exceptionally introverted. So if you've ever met me at a con and been like, why doesn't she talk to more people? That's why. Um, and so I hide backstage. And so my theater class was like, you're going to have to do something or you're not going to get credit. And I was like, okay. And so my theater teacher said, you can do costumes, you can do makeup, you can help with sets. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And that's why I love doing it, which is, it's really funny. You were talking about Halloween. I used to make some of the most insane Halloween costumes. And my mother would just look at me and go, what is wrong with my child? Where is this coming from? Why did she put that together? Now she picks up the phone and calls me and goes, hey, can you come do my makeup and maybe we can make a costume for Halloween? And
How the turns have tables.
it's cool. No, it's really
true.
cool.
It's true.
It's awesome though, because she and my grandmother actually taught me how to sew by quilting.
Oh,
So, yeah,
that's amazing.
I mean,
it's a lot of fun.
think you bring up something. I think you kind of bring up something important that I've actually been thinking on the last few months, because I said I was changing the conversation with myself about cosplay and what it means to me, and like I think this is where it gets. You have to say this is okay. So, like for example, Beverly is one of the people that I personally think is her strength, and what she finds joy in is education. She loves to share knowledge. She loves
Yes.
to go out there and teach panels and classes and connect with people and help them on their journey. And I am not that person, right? Like I mean I am in a sense that yes, I will give advice, and I will, if people ask me where I got something or how to do something, I'm happy to give it. But cosplay for me is more of the showmanship. It's more of the going out there and meeting people and putting on a show. And I love hosting cosplay contests and being on stage and helping people feel their fantasy. And that's where I think it can get really dicey, because like, and then you talked about how you like to be backstage and doing more of like technical things and being, a support system. So there's so many different ways to be a part of this community, and that's okay, because I think a lot of us, I speak from personal experience, I'll speak to my own, is that I've used to be like compare, like, well, I'm not doing as much as this person's doing, or I'm not doing what they're doing. And you know what? I don't have to. I found what makes me happy.
Exactly.
And I can do the things that I want to do and still be a valid cosplayer and still, contribute to the community in a positive way, just a different way. I think that's really important.
I think this is a really important thing that the community has to, take props for also, because, it's just Sheeprop, although Sheeprop has done a stellar job bringing it to the front of, the issues in the community. When we talk about cosplay, we talk about safe spaces. We're talking about, places where people with disabilities, who are neurodivergent, who are LGBTQIA, who have ever been bullied, ever been seen as different, ever not felt like they belonged in some way, shape, or form, suddenly have a home. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the first time we met backstage at Masquerade, I said, hey, look, it's okay that this is your first time. You just came to a place where you met 100,000 people that are your closest friends and family you just hadn't met yet. Right. That's the way this community is. And so that's one of the reasons why we started up this stream. We want to help promote it any way we can. I'm kind of an educator like Beverly. I love to do my, how do I teach people stuff? And Brian is very much peacock like you.
Yes. I love being in front of the stage. I love being behind the stage, competing. I love doing it all. I just love everything about it.
I'm also just a very weird, eccentric person that likes to be like, here, let me put my weird out there in the world and see what happens. So
more weird, let me tell you that, honestly. I have to tell, I'm so sorry. I have to tell one little quick story because you reminded me of this and I never forgot this. It's the cutest thing ever. My first Dragon Con, that same Dragon Con that you and I met, I had this very similar experience. I was at Evening at Bree, which is the Tolkien party. It's always on a Friday of Dragon Con, and it's obviously hobbits and elves, and of course I wore Thranduil there and competed in the costume contest. That was my first time really doing Dragon Con, was at Evening at Bree. And I ended up winning the costume contest, which I did not expect. And then there was like a dance party, and so there's like this festive Tolkien hobbity music playing with a live band, and we're all up there kind of like dancing. And there's this little girl. She must have been maybe 10, 12. I really don't know. She was in a hobbit costume, and we were kind of like doing a little dance. And she had heard that it was my first convention ever. And I remember in the middle of all of us dancing, she like pulled my hand down and she said, "Welcome home." And it was the cute, I'm not kidding, it really happened. Oh my god. The cutest thing. I was like,
how did you prevent the makeup from
just
coming off your face? Oh my gosh.
Incredible. I mean, I can't believe I haven't told that story before. That really happened. And you reminded me of it when you told me that story, because that really happened.
I'm telling you, kids in cosplay are a phenomenal thing too. I mean, the kids at Dragon Con are one of the reasons, you talked about how you don't do it as characters, you just do it as yourself, right? And you kind of find yourself through being the character, but being yourself in the character. I like to act, but I'm always afraid of how people are going to react to my acting. So I don't act in cosplay when I'm around like adults. But when it comes to kids, I will act. Oh my. I did Library Bell for years and took books and handed them out at con to the kids. And it was probably one of the most enriching experiences ever because of that kind of thing. Kids will show you all the good in the world, and it is always such a positive light. So all right, well guys, I really appreciate all of you coming and being involved, and I hope you had some fun. We've got about 2 minutes left here before we need to close out, so if you can just tell us real quickly, what have you got coming up? Where can people find you online? So Beverly, if you don't mind.
Well, you can catch me at Holiday Matsuri in Orlando, Florida, in December. And I'm going to be there as a cosplay workshop guest, or an academy guest. So I am doing 2 workshops and a true cosplay crimes panel with Sheeprop. So you can catch me there. And I also just wanted to say real quick that I have to admit that I've been suffering from some severe burnout and just like some soul crushing stuff since Dragon Con. And I was really hoping that this conversation could like help just repair some of that. And it truly has. And I think that I need to remember
that's great.
how much I need to reach out to my friends when I'm feeling that way. So thank you for this conversation. I really needed it. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you came, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we're actually going to do an episode in the future on cosplay or on burnout and how cosplay can help, but also cause. So if you're up for it, we might tap you out for that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, where can we find you next?
Gosh, so I will be at Anime Week in Atlanta, here in Atlanta, obviously, in December. It's actually, I think, the same weekend as Holiday Matsuri. I'm going to be co-hosting the cosplay contest at Anime Week in Atlanta, and I'll be debuting a different version of Martha May Whovier. So I'm doing because I did the red version at Holiday Matsuri in 2022, and now I'm bringing out the nightgown version of her at.
I cannot wait to see that. I loved it. I loved the first one, so I'm really excited about that one.
Awesome. But yeah, that's what's next. And then just real quick, I am building Ghost Agatha from Agatha All Along, so that's coming soon. So get ready.
Yes, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything I can do to help with that, hit me up.
You already have. You sent me those links on Fabric, and I really appreciate because that really helped me wrap my head around some stuff. So
fiber optics are so much fun to work with.
Anyway,
can't wait. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. I hope you guys have wonderful, holiday season and everything. And hey, Teddy, did you make it safe yet?
We're actually just got off the exit.
Teddy did this.
Timing.
Yeah, Teddy did this whole thing en route to a con.
Amazing.
Somehow.
All right. So thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.